Where the fuck are we going, they ask, as they travel down an uncharted road. To a house that's haunted that no one has explored, and nobody knows where they will end up, 'cause it's down Eden Road, and the house is where they'll belong. House on Eden, found footage, more of this permeating every streaming service. We have a 10K budget and 2 YouTubers and somebody that also edits videos for the filmmaker as we go along. They have nothing happening till somebody do something, please. House on Eden sees the found footage subgenre. Stroll along on Eden Road. We've got Chris Collins, Selena Myers, Jason Christopher Mayer. House on Eden is a Shudder original written, produced, and directed by Chris Collins, who stars as Chris, who wants to make a movie about the house on Eden, basically where hauntings have happened, nobody knows about it, so that's always a good formula for nothing bad happening in your found footage movie. Go to uncharted territory. Nothing bad ever occurs when you do that. So anyway, Chris, along with her friend Selena, played by Selena Myers, they actually are 2 legit YouTubers. I'm not familiar with their work, but good on them for making a found footage movie for $10,000. That's admirable, especially now. I mean, even if you go back to the days of the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity, stuff like that, to make a movie on that little amount of money, that takes some guts, that takes ingenuity, and that takes a lot of goddamn luck. Now, there were people that were complaining about the camera twisting around and everything, giving people motion sickness. This did get a limited theatrical release, and I had a couple chances to go see it, but unfortunately, the timing just didn't work out due to work, due to the limited releases, and also, like, limited release times, that is, and also the fact that any theaters I could have gone to, it would have worked out maybe on 2 days. Just didn't have a chance. Now that it's on Shudder, I gave it a shot, and I will say that they try. They do try, and this is well-traveled material. Nothing really original here. There are some good shots, I will say that, but this is also proof that maybe not everybody should be able to make a movie on a limited budget or not. I mean, I just have a small YouTube channel. You could give me 10 times this budget for non-math majors. That's $100,000. I would not be able to make a movie because I just don't have it in me to make a movie. So I criticize movies because those that can't do, teach. Those that can't make, criticize. I think that's how that phrase goes. And yeah, there's pretty much nothing to this movie for a majority of its runtime. There's a couple noises around, but really it's just them talking, joking around, and then essentially stuff eventually kind of sort of happens, but it's so, then they just throw the camera around, do the shaky stuff and everything, and even though I guess there's a conclusion, it's an ending, that's enough. Also, it's very obvious where this film is going from the beginning, and the fact is, as small of a budget as this is, it's really just a short film concept. This could have been a 30-minute short in a VHS anthology and probably would have been a lot better for it. That being said, I'm going to get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So once they arrive, it becomes very obvious this is no ordinary house. There's a Victorian-esque flair to it. There's a snake-wrapped lady, that's Lilith. You go back to the Garden of Eden, that kind of stuff. And also, Chris is pregnant. If you know anything about Lilith, you know that basically she, it's like a fertility thing. She goes after women that can bear children and all that. And when you ever hear in, early on, where the fuck are we going? It's always a good idea when the characters actually know that. And there's also a fire, or a recently burned fire that comes back to play a little bit later on. It's a giant fire pit that's in a perfect circle. No 3 Libras and no Judith here. Just Lilith. Deep cut for music fans. And Chris is throwing up because she's pregnant. So obviously she's going to be the main target of this, to be a conduit to bring Lilith a vessel, or have Lilith be a vessel to get out into the real world, where Rob Thomas will continue to be hassled. Because why not make that reference for the few people that will understand it that are watching YouTube videos? Her and Jay kind of have a bit of a sniping relationship, in the sense that Chris is really being bitchy towards him, despite the fact that he has added a lot of her stuff and everything. There's one point where she falls down some stairs. They're going to stay overnight. That doesn't necessarily work, because they were going to stay in the van, but they end up trapped in the house, essentially. Or they just passed out drunk. I don't really know. And then there was a bit of an earlier thing while going to find a camera where Selena and Jay were wandering around and heard like weird noises in the woods. And see, you can make this work, but the Blair Witch Project made it work. This just feels like traveling down the same roads. So they have this device called the Alice Box, where it's a ghost speaker essentially, and it'll say here, or corner, or front door, open. And then Selena apparently is doing some kind of, she's like having some kind of, trance-like state. She's being possessed. And she ends up hitting, Jay at one point. That's kind of funny. At least it was funny to me. And then we talk about the Garden of Eden. This ain't no summer of love, things ain't the way they used to be. I think I screwed up those lyrics, but you know what I'm saying. I think it was L7. So, Chris reveals she's pregnant. Jay takes off at one point, never to return. Pretty obviously he got killed. Who he got killed by, you sort of can guess from this little bit of footage later. And there are these cat sensor ball, light up ball things that I actually used to have for my Persian, but she was too stupid to play with them. But I love that cat. And just to get evidence, like you touch these balls and all this stuff, and it'll indicate that something's going on. Are you stuck here? You are, is what the ghost voice says to the box. And there is one line that I think just perfectly summarizes how the viewers probably felt about this movie. Somebody do something, please. And that is not a knock on the filmmakers, because they were doing the best they could. Whether it was funded by their YouTube revenue, I don't know. I'm not here to judge about that. But somebody do something, please, because for at least 80% of the runtime, nothing happens. And yes, that's standard found footage, but you get stuff sprinkled in, even in the worst Paranormal Activity movie. Even in the first one, plus you had Katie Featherston. The yoga pants were working overtime in this movie. Not that I was necessarily complaining, because if you can pull them off, why not? But Lilith wants inside one of them, basically, or both of them. Both of them at the same time. I think that's how the kids say it. And then the two girls argue, or the two women argue, like idiots, because we need that separation, because you got to keep them separated, hey. And we then smash cut to Chris in the store, and working at a convenience store. It can be tough work, especially when you have people that are constantly on their phone. Trust me, I've done retail for 25 fucking years. It can be very difficult. But there's this lady in the wheelchair that says congratulations to her just as she leaves. Now that old lady could be just somebody, the mother of the cashier, or it could just be somebody creepy that just happened to roll in there. Who knows? Jay's last video, where he basically says Selena, and then so he's dead. Selena then is found digging into her arm, which that was a little bit of nice gore, but it was really grainy. And then Chris ends up, in the tub, and she ends up basically, locking herself in there, but then ends up getting thrown in the tub, or throwing herself in the tub, and then comes out basically, it sounds like she's yodeling when she gets out of the tub. She's supposed to be breathing, but it's not breathing hard, gasping, but it sounds like she's yodeling. And now we smash cut to the giant fire and a group of people that are going to sacrifice both of them. And then I assume Selena, I assume, I don't know, we don't really see her face, but she suddenly nude and cuts herself, and then Chris rises up, and now she's going to be the vessel. And who was filming this stuff? Who was filming this? Because the filming was still going on. Neat little camera tricks and a couple okay moments, but this was just endlessly padded, even for 77 minutes. So I'm sorry, not my cup of tea. I like found footage movies. Raw File was a great example of a micro-budget found footage movie that had some ingenuity behind it. This is just more well-traveled stuff where it just exists. But I don't wish ill upon the filmmakers. I hope they can make other movies. Hopefully it can go better than this. This clearly was some kind of passion project they wanted to do, but this probably could have been a couple of YouTube shorts, if we're being perfectly honest. Gets an F, unfortunately. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin. Until we go to Eden again, happy trails to you.